We oftentimes ask God for growth, for confidence, to become the best version of ourselves. And then instead of getting instant confidence, we get a lot of challenges.
Trials and tribulations.
We get these lessons and we have to go through them, and they beat us down. They break us down. We get back up, and then the confidence comes. Today, we are talking about why pressure is a privilege and why the challenges you're going through are actually going to be the things in retrospect that you look back to and say, wow, that was the thing that made me the man or woman I am today. Today, we're having some Earl Grey. We have like so many tea. I want to give you guys some tea so you guys can have it with us. Today, we're drinking some Earl Grey breakfast tea.
Smoky tea.
With a little bit of what is the word? Caffeine in there. We've got 2 coffees in our system because it's been a busy day. We've got a lot of projects going on, but those are challenges that we're getting through, and we're going to get stronger because of them.
They're blessings. They're privileges. The higher the levels, the higher the devils. We've been saying that the last few days. I want to keep that at the top of the radar for you because I used to think it was so odd when pressure came. Now I realize it's a privilege. That's what we're going to talk about today. By the end of today, you're going to know how to take the pressure you're dealing with, the struggles, the oh crap moments, and turn them into gratitude moments and moments of growth that actually turn to good.
First of all, let's say hi to the people who are here very early. What's up, Miss Tammy Fireline?
Nice to see you.
We got the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Mr. Marcel. Not Saturday, but Sunday.
Marcel, what's up, brother?
We have Lori. Hello, Lori. It's great to see you. We have Miss Les.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo. What's going on, Les? It's good to see you, beautiful, beautiful, amazing people. Let's jump into this topic.
Let's jump in. Let's do it.
Challenges don't break you. They build you. You ask to be stronger. You ask God for strength. You ask God to be better. And again, hey, it comes through challenges. Yeah. So you don't really need fewer challenges. You just need a new way of looking at those challenges.
Jim Rohn says, don't ask God for life to be easier. Ask God to make you better.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make you guys stronger. We're going to get stronger because of it. Me and Andrew talk about this almost every day because as business partners running multiple companies, we go through multiple different challenges. Some of them huge, some of them little, right? Yeah. Like a little mishap that happens. But we always look at it and we always ask ourselves, hey, how can this make us better?
Yeah.
How can we be better leaders because of it? How could this allow us to make better decisions so the next decision, the next challenge that comes up, I can make a faster, smarter, more evaluated decision?
So something that really helped me understand this frame was I felt like an idiot after I lost millions of dollars, made mistakes, and I was like, what an idiot. Like, how could have I allowed this to happen? And I'm beating up myself, and I'm feeling like crap. And yes, millions was stolen from me, but ultimately we have to take responsibility. And I go, how could have I done different? How could have I involved the attorneys better? How could have all the how could have I's? And I'm feeling like an idiot one day. And I'm talking to one of my friends, older guy, and he looks at me and he says, it was just a mistake. I'm like, what do you mean it was just a mistake? It was millions of dollars. And he says, you realize you used to be broke, right? I'm like, yeah. He says, okay, you would make a mistake back in the day. You might not look at the price on the menu, and it was an extra $30 you didn't realize. It was a mistake.
Right.
Then you ended up buying a nicer car, and then you didn't see the, what do they call those? The curbs. You didn't see the curb, and you dinged the rim or scratched the car. That was a $2,000 mistake.
Right.
Yeah, okay, I get it. And then, to whom much is given, much is required. We're responsible for much. He said, now you own all these assets, have this business, have this team. And so the same level of mistake that used to be a cheeseburger or a dinner price, and the same level of mistake that used to be a scratch on the car is now the same mistake, except it's multiplied to millions. Wow, what a perspective.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't about, crap, I got to get past this level to get to the next one. It was, how do I learn the lesson at this level so I don't have to relearn this lesson at the next level? And I think that's an important frame as we start talking about challenges and pressure and how we deal with pressure and how that is a privilege because it grows us.
Yeah, I used to see each and every single one of those as a curse, right?
Yeah.
As a challenge that I couldn't get through. Like, why is this happening to me? Why was I chosen to go through this challenge? Why is it happening? And then I started to realize that each of those big challenges that I think of nowadays were some of the greatest teachers that I could have ever had.
Yeah.
I have some great teachers like yourself, Andrew. You teach me abundance. You taught me about real estate. You taught me how to do multiple deals. You taught me how to go through litigation. You taught me a lot of these great things. But the ones who have taught me confidence, the ones who have taught me resilience, right? You've taught me that, but it's also those big moments like when I was 18, having gone through that time when I was flat broke, I lost all my money. I'm driving home from Arizona to San Francisco to see my mom because everything just failed. I just flopped my real estate company and I was going through it.
Yeah.
And I'm driving down, and then my car engine blows up. I pull over to the side and I just sit there like, what is happening to me?
Yeah.
Thankfully, in that moment, I had been through a lot of things prior to that year. So I was used to things happening like that. So I was able to say, like, how can I learn from this? Right. I remember recording a video of myself in that moment. I showed you.
Yeah.
I recorded that video and I told myself, you know what? I'm going to give what I most need right now.
Yeah.
Which is just a little bit of motivation. That same day, I post on TikTok. I post a motivational video on TikTok. I go back home. I'm struggling. I'm going through a little bit of a mental juggle. But then that night I go to sleep. I have 37 followers on TikTok at this time. Right, 37. All my videos were flops. I go to sleep. I wake up at midnight for some reason. I check that post, and that post has 1 million views, which got me to 27,000 followers overnight, which taught me something very incredible. Not that happens every single time,
Right.
but that the greatest downfalls that we have often reveal a pathway to the greatest successes that you'll create. But that only happens when you see it that way. When you see it as a teacher, sometimes in the now, right? You can see it as a teacher now. Hey, what can I learn from this? How will this create greater success for me?
Yeah.
Versus you go through the challenge, you don't see a pathway, you feel sorry for yourself, and then you look back and say, oh, wow, I did learn something from this.
How did you get that perspective so early in life, though?
I think, growing up in a household where my parents were constantly at each other's throats, and me and my sister were at each other's throats, I grew up thinking that that's how the world is, right? I grew up thinking it was a darker place where that's how relationships were. The two people I loved the most were fighting each other every single day. So I went through a challenge every day, which was how do I get past the day with my two people I love the most fighting each other, and how do I navigate these relationships, and how do I navigate knowing that, hey, someday I'm going to get kicked out of my house, have to fend for myself, have to make sure my mom has a place, my sister, make sure we're good. So I always knew that it was up to me. It was up to myself to create the life that I wanted to live, because I never had stability.
Yeah.
Right. I never had that type of stability. So you start to realize very early on, like, hey, if you don't take responsibility for this, like we talked about yesterday, you'll end up in a negative position. You'll end up on the street. You'll end up in a position you don't want to be in.
It reminds me, and some of you have read the story or heard the story, but where in the Bible, Joseph and all his brothers, they get mad at him and they decide to kill him. And one of the brothers speaks up and says, no, let's just sell him into slavery instead. Let's not kill him. So they sold him. And all these years go by. Many years go by. I believe it's something like 15 years, maybe longer. And he's going through all of these tough times. He goes into slavery, he goes to prison, all this crap happens. And then it so happens there's a famine, and all his brothers come to Egypt, where he's now second in command over the whole country. And
the guy that
famine,
was sold to slavery?
Yeah. And he come up through the ranks, whole long story of how it happened, and really in a miraculous way. And now his brothers are here. They're starving. People are starving to death. They're coming to Egypt because he was second in command, and he's the one who had stored up for the bad times. So they're buying grain from him, food from him in the bad times, and they start crying when they find out it's him. And he looks at them and he said, what you meant for evil, so many words, God turned to good. And I think about that every time. And it's not always easy to remember that when you're in the prison or when you're in the problem or when you're in the challenge. But every time that this would happen, I remember being at 2014, starting the business. I remember sleeping in the office. I remember sleeping in the car in front of a hotel.
Yeah.
And I remember doing all the daily grind. Then I upgraded. Then I carried an air mattress with me and put it in my vacant houses that I was buying. And so I remember doing all of these things. And I at the time, it's just the grind, right? You're young and it's like just the thing I'm doing. And then I see other people complaining about things. And while it's not always easy while you're in that place, remember that the thing is coming where you're going to look back. The story. This is, my gosh, I might have never posted that video that blew up if I hadn't went through the car blowing up. Or I might have never took the leap where we are now launching the mastermind that we're launching and launching the community we're launching. Had I not had those years in grinding it out, getting sued, dealing with crap, getting money stole from, if I hadn't been through all the crap, then I wouldn't have been positioned to be responsible for what we now lead.
And you're right, because I wouldn't be here without your challenges. Because the challenges I went through, you helped me go through them because you had been through the exact same thing, right? If I didn't have that, I would have had to do the same thing you did, which still would have taught me later on. Yeah. But I might have been 8 years behind.
Wow.
Right? It might have taken me 8 more years to have been in the position I am right now because of Andrew's experience. But what went through your mind when you were sleeping, in the office? Like, were you able to think in that way of like, what can I learn from this?
I think back in the day, the litigation and that stuff bothered me. I didn't see the privilege in that at the moment.
Yeah.
The things that I never really looked at as a negative was sleeping in the office, sleeping in the car in front of the hotel, sleeping on an air mattress in a house I bought and closed last week. Yeah. That time I was like, I just had the perspective of I'm building something.
Okay.
And I kept very focused on I'm building something. I have concealed carry in 5 states.
Yeah.
I like to have a beautiful 9mm under my pillow at night.
Right.
And so I would buy a house. I'd be a vacant house. Sometimes it was a little creepy, right? Because you don't change the locks yet. You don't know who all has a key. So I would always have my 9 under my pillow with my air mattress.
Have you ever had someone walk in?
Never. Well, there's some stories in there. We've had squatters come into houses. We've had a few scary instances over the years, but never. The closest call I ever had actually was not staying at a vacant house. I send people through the lock boxes on to lease option houses all the time, and I sent a gentleman through, and he moved in. Smart guy, moved in, got a piece of mail sent to him before I found out he moved in. For the house, he hadn't signed a lease. He wasn't supposed to be there. And come to find out when his background came, because he applied for the house, but he just took the key and moved in.
Okay. Without paying anything?
Nothing.
Okay.
And no lease. So by the time I found out he was there, when his background came back, he already had his first piece of mail sent to him. So now he's technically a tenant or a technical squatter, I guess. And so I call the police to try to take care of it because it comes back on his background, and he's into meth and he's into lots of challenging things. He's a local known drug dealer. That's why he was in a hurry to move in, apparently.
Right.
And I go there to the house like a doofus, and I pull up to the house, and he comes out, and he leans in my car window, and we start talking. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And as we're standing there in the car, boom, sheriff comes flying in, guns drawn. Randy puts his hand up, and I'm in straight line of fire directly behind the guy.
Crazy.
And so Randy almost got shot, and I almost got shot. Fortunately, he cooperated with them, and a few weeks later, I got my house back.
That's wild. How old were you?
I was 22.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is what, 10 years ago?
10 years ago.
Hey, we just aged you. That's crazy. That's when you first got started. It's like a year in.
It's a year in.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
Okay. So in the moments, I'm sure it feels like the end of the world. I'm
Yeah.
sure it feels like, hey, so much is happening, so much is crumbling down. But every single time, I'm sure even this moment, we're laughing about it now, but you probably never would have thought that we would have laughed about it 10 years later
No, it's crazy.
on a show in front of a bunch of people.
And I think that's the thing, though. Something you say anytime we go through a hard time, Leo. And this is the power of perspective. Type in the chat, power of perspective. Apparently, we're just into the synergies of the P's today. There's pressure is a privilege, and this is the power of perspective. So when it comes to the power of your perspective, everything changes when we change. And you look at me, and doesn't matter what we're going through, what decisions we're making, you will always look at me and say, this is going to be a story one day.
Yeah.
And I think that's such cool perspective because I didn't think in that way for years about the truly negative things. For some reason, I did about sleeping in the office and sleeping on the air mattress in my vacant houses and sleeping in the car. I thought this will be a story one day. But when it come to the crazy, scary moments, I was just like, gosh, is this business for me? Am I going to live another day to tell this story? And so the whole world would feel like it was caving in. And now looking back, it was all learning moments. And had if I realized that in the moment, I could have made smart decisions much more quickly and saved myself months or years of learning time living in that loopty of, oh, crap, what do I do now?
I think it's, I had someone very close to my life that partially raised me that lived in the past and always blamed things that have happened to him.
Yeah. And
it pissed me off every time because I was like, why? Why are you going to stay in that place when you can literally just change it? You can move in a right direction. And I remember a lot because I started to develop that mentality after I realized that you can change that. You can look at something that happened in the past and say, wow, that at least I know not to go down that road anymore, or I know not to talk to that type of person anymore. Yeah. And you learn from it. And some people, because I've always said this, like, hey, it's going to be a great story. Yeah. And it pisses people off sometimes because they're going through the hardest times. I'm just like, good. Yeah. Good. It's going to teach you something great. You're going to tell this story on stage one day. Yeah. But then they sit back and they're like, you know what, Leo, you're right. Because I'm going through this right now, but what is it going to teach me? It's going to make me into a better leader because I'll make better decisions. It's going to make me more prone to resistance, right? Something happened, I'm able to get through it. I know I'm going to get through it. And I know the future things that come up, I'm going to be able to get through, right? So it makes you stronger. It gives you thicker skin. Yeah. It gives you new information, new data of who not to talk to, who to talk to, what to do, what not to do, which means the next decision you make, you're going to get stronger. So now every time we see a challenge, we're like, good.
And it helps a lot of other people. It's something I notice every time we're at a live event, I go into details about losing millions of dollars and all the mistakes that I made, as well as all the good things. Like, people come up to me after that every single time, and I'll notice exactly that. It's like, oh my gosh, thank you. I was about to do X. Now I know not to. Yeah. Or I was about to do X. Now I know to do that.
Absolutely.
And so I think taking that ability or that blessing, that privilege, and saying, I know my calling is to help people. Now I have more tools with which to help them.
That is so true. And I have this perspective, as I have future kids, of all the mistakes I've been through. For example, through relationships, right? Relationships in the past, having, messed up so many different things and gone through rejections and really funny stories that I'll tell one day. And
any you want to share now?
I don't want to share any of them. I'll share them one day. But I sit back. It was 1992, and I sit back and I'm like, hey, when I have my son, he's gonna have great relationships because I'll have so many lessons and stories for whenever he goes to his first rejection. I'll tell him my 6 rejections I had in a row and feeling so terrible. I'll be able to tell him these stories, and that's what I think about now. It's when you think about how this can help other people, like you just said, Andrew, it allows you to go through it so much harder, right? Whatever you're going through right now, it's going to help so many people that I don't even think you know yet.
Wow.
You're going through a challenge that you're going to solve. You are the type of person that understands pressure as a privilege, so you're going to get through it. You're going to learn the lessons from it. But then there's going to be people presented to you in your life, whether it's family, whether it's clients, whether it's people that just look up to you who are going through a very similar challenge. and they're going to need your help, need your story to help them guide through it. And that's what Andrew was for me. His stories of how he battled so many different battles, so many different litigations, so many different failures was the light for me to keep building my business, right? Over the past 4 years, I've had some of the most traumatic challenges happen. And the only thing that got me through it was the stories that he did over the past 10 years. Because I was able to say, hey, I can trust your advice because the story you told me of what you've been through, right? And now I do the same thing. Now we do the same thing for so many other people. And that's why we're so happy when challenges come up.
Yeah. Yeah, we trust people a lot more when they've been through something.
Yes, this is a side topic that we'll talk about. Me and Andrew, a trust factor that we have is we find out what they've been through first.
Yeah.
If they haven't been through enough, me and Andrew's first saying is they haven't been through enough.
Haven't been through enough.
Right? I hadn't been through enough before the past 4 years of going through everything, and of course I had my challenges with my parents and the divorce and a lot of different challenges that came up, but that's why I was able to be open to the challenges that we've been through.
Yeah.
But now we've been through 7 years of crazy challenges, and we got past every single time. That's why we trust each other so well in business.
Right.
We got each other's back there. But then when we meet someone, right, when you guys are choosing a business partner, when you're choosing a great friend or relationship, find someone who has been through it. Because you never really know a person until they're under fire. And then that real person shows up.
Reveals the real.
And it's a scary thing if you all of a sudden see this person change up on you.
Yeah.
And you're just like, whoa. But you didn't expect it before. But now we expect every single time a fire comes up, hey, this person might change, and we're just okay with it.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's like money. Pressure doesn't change people. It reveals more of who they are.
Or amplifies. Reveals or amplifies the person you are. If you're a nice person, you get more money, you're going to be a nicer person. If you're a greedy person, you get more money, you're going to be more of a greedy person.
Yeah.
It amplifies the person or reveals the person. So how do we train ourselves then? How do we train ourselves? This is the part where we've told the stories, we've understood it, but now how do we train ourselves to handle these challenges?
Put yourself through daily resistance. Go get involved in at least 12 lawsuits next week.
Don't do that, guys.
I'm kidding.
Do not
put yourself through daily resistance, challenges, gym, cold plunges, workouts, deep work, whatever you need to do the hard things. Get up early, drink the bottle of water, eat the healthy meal, start to discipline yourself in a way that will allow you to build consistency and become more of the person you want to be.
Either you train yourself for resistance or life will train you the hard way.
Oh, that's good.
We like to see it every day. We just got back from the gym and we see that, of course, it's resistance training, but we're putting ourselves through resistance daily. Yeah. We put ourselves through pain. We put ourselves through hard times. So when hard times actually come, you start to realize that most of it's just mental.
Right.
Unless, God forbid, you're going through a physical challenge,
sure,
most of it's going to be mental and you have to deal with it. You have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Right. So when we go to the gym, when we do a cold plunge, when we do workouts, when we go through deep work or rejection therapy, which I want to talk about for a minute, we're really just training our minds and our bodies to handle the challenges that come up. So if it's like a level 5 challenge, we've already been putting ourselves through level 5 resistance every day.
Yeah.
Right. A cold plunge, it's tough. 39 degrees. We'll go in there. It's terrible. For 5-10 minutes, you're freezing yourself.
Not bad at all.
It's not bad at all anymore. But a level 5 challenge comes up. Maybe a lawsuit's a level 8, and you've been putting yourselves through level 5, 6, 7, right? Resistance training every day, workouts every day, deep work every day. That lawsuit's going to just fly by. You're going to be able to handle it very, very well. It's going to challenge you, absolutely.
Sure.
But you're going to learn from it.
I think this is a powerful example, Leo, of what it means to be a business owner and a leader. Making sure every single day we're getting better. We're willing to do the hard things. We're willing to make the hard decisions and saying, hey, I'm not going to wait for the challenge to come to me. The thing I always used to believe when I was going through hard times was I was like, oh, just part of the early days of the grind, right?
Right.
What I realize is, and this is what in our mastermind community I talk about so much too, because someone comes in and often someone will say, I just need more private money, for example,
right,
or more funding. Cool. We got that. Plenty of opportunities for funding in the mastermind. The challenge is most people don't actually need more funding. most people, it's we need to be more creative, right? Because anybody can go buy a house and pay too much for it and borrow too much on it and then realize you got a bad deal. But the skill that actually needs to be built is negotiating great deals in that case.
So to simplify that, a lot of people think they need more capital, need more money.
Yeah.
But really they just need more creativity.
They need more skills.
They need to learn how to communicate. They need to know how to add more value, because you can add so much value to people with money, right? And they can fund those deals that you bring.
And now, of course, if you're doing great deals, then yes, get more funding. It makes it better, but it only amplifies your already great skills. And I share that passionately because I remember in the beginning stages, I just kept thinking, gosh, if I could just this, if I could just that. And then I finally did, and then I got into some bad deals. And I said, wait a second, I needed to develop my skill better. And so all of those failures, all those mistakes, every time that they happened, I kept thinking, well, gosh, if I can just get to the next level. Well, the next level, maybe at level 1, it's how do I come up with 50,000? And level 2 is how do I come up with 500,000? Maybe level 3 is how do I come up with 5 million? And so you realize each level is the same skill amplified. And if I've tried to skip level 1, if I've tried to skip level 2, if I've tried to skip the hard things, now when the tough thing hits, it very well could take someone out.
So let's break that down into terms where my mind could have understood 3 years ago, because my mind goes, level 3 is $5 million. How am I going to raise $5 million if I've never even raised a couple grand?
Right.
So breaking it down into terms of, let's just call it workouts.
Yep.
Right. We want to get to a certain place where we can hit a bench of 3 plates.
Yeah.
Right. I can't even hit
Which
3
I
plates
didn't know what that was until recently.
So if you want to, let's say what I can do. I can do two plates in 25. Right. If I want to get to 2 plates in 25, I'm not going to start with 2 plates.
Right.
I'm not going to start at 2 plates in 25. I'm going to start with the bar. Yeah. And that's what my scrawny ass had to do. I had to sit down with the bar while the girl over there, who is my size, was hitting 2 plates.
Right.
And it was like, what in the world? But how can we make sure that we understand progressive overload? We understand the dynamics of workouts and putting that into business, putting that into raising money. Because there was no way I could have raised $5 million off the bat because I didn't have the skill of communication to do so. My
first raise was $6,000 from a family member who funded a subject to deal I bought. And I partnered him in for giving me $6,000 to close it.
So then back to this, it's about putting yourself through resistance daily, but things that you can handle.
Yeah. Right.
Because if I'm putting myself through resistance, I wouldn't try to start raising $5 million right away. Right. Try raising $1,000 for a deal. Yeah. Right. And it doesn't even have to be private money. We fell into this conversation. Let's just say you're trying to make $20,000 a month. Let's call it $10,000 a month. Right. Before you make $10,000 a month, figure out how to make $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Then what are the repetitions that I need to do to make $1,000 a month? First of all, what is your product? Let's just say it is credit repair. Yeah. Right. And it takes you 10 calls to get to 1 client for a credit repair. Yeah. Right. So then your goal of resistance is have as many of those calls as possible.
So if it takes you 10 calls to get to 1 client for a credit repair, if your client is a $500 sell, now you need 20 of those this month to get to 10K. So Absolutely. 20 times 10 calls a piece, I need 200 calls to get to
the 20K. The math is going to math soon. But in essence, it's how can we get all the way down to what is the resistance that I have to create? And doing a sales call is resistance.
Right.
Right? Doing a cold plunge is resistance. Doing a workout is resistance, but we have to go through them. The hard things, right? The good things all come from doing the hard things consistently. And then you can build a team. But in order to build a team, you have to go through resistance of actually finding good loyal people.
Right.
Everything requires resistance. Everything is going to be a challenge because when you finally do hire someone, let's just say they turn into a bad apple and they're not a good person for your company. How do I fire them?
Yeah.
And then you learn because of a bad apple that you had of a VA you hired, a virtual assistant. Then you sit back and you're like, okay, now I know who not to hire. Let me actually ask them a bunch of questions before in my interview to make sure that they're actually available during these hours.
Right.
Or that they can actually get this work done. Or that they can actually speak fluent English. Right. You learn through the resistance, but you want to make sure that it's not all of a sudden you're hiring the person. Go through conversations, go through interviews, talk to people at the coffee shop. Like, get used to the resistance now, so when it matters,
Yeah.
when the resistance matters, you get through it and you win. You win that battle.
When getting rich is hard. Staying poor is hard. Hiring a team is hard.
It's all hard.
Doing it sounds like Jim Rohn now. Building a team, being a solopreneur is hard. So just knowing that you are going to experience resistance, but are you going to choose the resistance in a way that builds you up, or are you going to have to accept the resistance that just comes to you? I would rather choose it.
Absolutely. Choose the resistance. Understand that pressure is a privilege. And we are so blessed to be able to, we thank God every single day for the pressure.
Yeah.
For the challenges. You hear it in our prayers.
100%.
Because if we didn't have those, we wouldn't be the men we are today.
So true.
We wouldn't be able to lead the way we lead today. Right? We can lead because other people go through challenges every day. So as leaders, we have to help them go through their challenges.
Right.
That is good leadership at its core, is helping people go through challenges and putting your hand out for them to trust. Right? So the more challenges you go through, the better leader you become. If you ask yourself in the moment of the challenge, how can I grow from this?
Right.
How should I look at this and say and future pace your lesson that you're going to learn? Because retrospect is a great thing. You look back and you see what you learned. Wisdom is having retrospect right now before the thing happens. That is the greatest lesson that I've ever learned in my entire life. That we can future pace our retrospect.
It's powerful.
Right? The way I want to look back at the thing, let me create that now.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going to go through resistance. That's why I'm going to go through problems. That's why I'm going to go through challenges, so I can stack as many challenges as possible, so I have more moments of saying, what can this teach me? How can I improve on this today? That is our job every single day as leaders.
And I think there's something to be said for just taking specific action, because even if I don't know the best workout to do, at least if I go to the gym and I do something, I've moved.
Right.
If I don't know the best way to close the deal, of course, get in the right rooms, learn how to close the deal. But also, if I have some conversations, at least I've done something. And so understanding that some is better than none, moving the needle forward, experiencing some sort of resistance. Very worst, you got some data now, at least, to go off of. This is what happens when I do calls. This is how not to do it.
Absolutely. So guys, write this down. When challenges come up, ask, how can I learn from this? And what can I improve on? Because when we ask these two questions, it really just allows us to change our perspective, right? Maybe you've been wearing shades this whole time, purple shades, and then you take it off and you realize that everything's not purple, right? It's not, why is this happening to me? Nothing is just all happening to you in this way, right? We start to ask ourselves then, when we take those glasses off, like, how is this happening for me?
Oh my goodness, that is deep. Because when that perspective shifts, we now find opportunity rather than problem. You ever met one of those people who have a great problem for every opportunity you present, every solution you provide? They make sure they come up with 7 problems.
That's right.
And then you meet the person who is really a person who wants solutions, and the problem comes up, and they're like, let's get it solved. Let's fix it.
Let's figure it
Let's
out.
figure it out. And that is the difference between why is this happening to me to how is this happening for me?
When you think about it, everything in our lives has happened to us for a reason, happened for us for a reason. Let me change that. For us, right? Life happens for you, not to you. Things that go on in your life, a challenge, it happened for you to be able to be better from it. But if that didn't happen, you would not have seen the perspective that you do now.
Right.
But you would have gone and hit the block eventually that would teach you that lesson.
Mm-hmm.
God has to put things in our lives so we can learn it.
Right.
But when we understand the perspective, we can be thankful for that the lessons is happening now at a $1,000 level versus at a $10 million level.
Absolutely.
You might as well learn the lesson at a $1,000 level, right? Same thing with lifting, right? When I learned about ego lifting, the trainer I had taught it to me at a 10-pound level. So before I can go into the 100 pounds, if I can get strong enough to have gotten to the 100 pounds, he taught me not to ego lift at 10 pounds. So I never ego lift. Oh, I did ego lift for a while. But he was the one that taught me, hey, who are you lifting for? Like who in this gym are you lifting for? don't live for anyone but yourself.
Yeah.
Get yourself into a mind state where you're doing this for you, and then lift. I'm so glad I learned that lesson then when I was scrawny versus maybe potentially going down a path where I compare myself. I take steroids, right? You look at the guy, you compare yourself with the guys on social media, and you're like, hey, maybe steroids is the way to go. Then I get on juice, and then I look back and I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Oh, because I didn't check myself early.
Wow.
I didn't learn it at the $1,000 level. I didn't learn it at the 10-pound level, right? I had to learn it at the 300-pound level.
That's powerful. And I think as we develop that shift to accept that responsibility, then everything becomes, I don't want to say easier, but everything makes more sense. That's for sure. Perspective there is, I remember going into a partnership years ago that was not with the people were not great character. I'll put it that way. And quickly that was revealed, and I was disappointed because we had some plans together. But as soon as I checked myself, I said, oh my gosh, thank you, God, this was revealed at the 5-house level, because what if we would have been in with 50 or
That's
100?
right.
And so the moment those things happen, now you are finding that, oh my goodness, thank you, God.
Yeah.
I could have worked 2 years of my life not knowing it and then lost it all again.
That's right.
So now it's perspective, it's gratitude.
And when you guys are putting yourself through resistance daily, it teaches you so much.
Yeah.
And you can get in this mindset of what can I learn? How can I grow? How can I grow? What can I learn? When you're because resistance requires us to reflect, because it's hard. It puts ourselves in a strain. It puts ourselves through stress, good stress. So when we stay in a reflective mentality, then we can reflect as if we had something terrible happen to us, which we had to learn from. But guys, we don't have to go through the terrible moments every day. We can put ourselves through small moments of resistance so that we can reflect of how we can grow. And that's our mentality every day. When we go to the gym, we're asking ourselves, how can we be better, right? How can we be better men? How can we be better leaders? How can we build this business better? Because I'm feeling the pain of doing a crazy workout or feeling the pain of going through a cold plunge. And these things are reminding me how bad things can hurt, right? And I know that if we go down a bad path, it's going to hurt. I remember what it was like being broke and how much it hurt. We had someone at the event tell us that the world does not treat broke men well.
It's true.
And we have both felt it. Yeah. And so we know what it feels like if we go down that path. Right. So how do we make sure to not ever go down that path?
Yeah.
It just makes you a little bit smarter in seeing patterns and choosing your decisions wisely so that you can create the life that you really want to have. A life of freedom. Freedom of the mind, freedom financially, freedom from the system as much as you can, and also freedom to go where you want to go.
Something I think that is very, very important as we are building our life is to not waste our time getting caught up in the what ifs. This is a big one because we're talking about building resistance, as we're talking about building the muscle, the perspective. It is so important because I remember got me going down memory lane here with the air mattresses and the meth tenant, but the meth house.
Come get your meth.
I remember encountering countless challenges over the years, but you reminded me of one. I don't know why this bothered me so bad. I guess I do because it was pretty freaking terrifying. But I remember in 2022, it was February. I'm coming off the heels of all of the stuff. February 2021. February 2021. It's snowing. It's icing. I'm in Louisville. And I am coming off the heels of horrible losses, all the crap that's happening. You've heard me talk about it. And I decided I'm going to go to Dairy Queen. This is before you had me start working out. And I decided I'm going to go to Dairy Queen and grab an ice cream before my next call. And so it is snowing. It is icing. It is like 17 degrees. And the wind's blowing. I had a fresh haircut back when I'd done the bald on the sides. And I get in the 2015 Dodge Charger, white Hemi Dodge Charger. And I drive down the road. And I get my ice cream and I'm making it back. I have 14 minutes to my next call. And right before I turn into the little lane leading to my house, I look in my rearview mirror and there's a police. Well, that's interesting. And then his lights come on. Ah, crap. Let's hurry and get this done. Like, is the tail light out? Did I miss this? I don't know what I did. And I look at my rearview mirror again, and I'm pulling over, and there's 2, and there's 3, and there's 4, there's 5. Oh my gosh, there's 6 police cars. Okay, I don't know what this is about. So I pull over, I put it in park. I'm experienced in speeding back in my younger days, so I've dealt with this a time or two. And I pull over, and the loudspeaker comes across. Put your hands out of the car. Oh, crap. What in the world is going on? So I roll down my window. I put my hands out the car. The door's locked.
Yeah.
And when a door is locked, it doesn't open from the outside. And so my hands are out the window. Have I told you this?
You've told me sections of it, but
So
not the whole thing.
my hands are out the window, and I am terrified. My heart's beating like crazy. And they're like, open the car door from the outside. And of course, my brain wants to argue at that moment and say the car door doesn't open, it's locked, with a few other words. And I instead just pulled on it because I figured by now I'm looking in my rearview mirror and there is 6 guns pointing at me.
Wow.
So, quick tip. If a guy with a gun pointing at you tells you to open it from the outside, probably shouldn't argue. So I start pulling on the door, and he's like, unlock the door. Unlock the door. Now open it from the outside. Open it from the outside. And I open the door, and of course, I'm just wondering what the heck is going on. And they tell me, walk toward my voice. I've never been cuffed before. I've never been arrested. I don't know how this stuff works. So I turn around, and they go, turn around. So I turn away from them. They go, walk toward my voice. I turn around toward them and start walking toward them. They go, turn around. So about the 3rd time I finally gathered, they wanted me to walk backwards, which I'm not comfortable doing, but who cares about my comfort level at this point? So I walk backwards, and as soon as I get fairly near them, they grab my hands, they slam them together, they lock handcuffs on me. They all holster their 6 guns that they had pointed at me. And I said, what in the heck is going on? And they said, you tell us. Excuse me. Louisville PD, who I love very much, by the way. And so I'm confused. I don't know what's going on.
It's the Dairy Queen.
I am lost as a goose in a snowstorm, as we say in the country.
Right.
And so I'm just standing there cuffed with the snow and the ice. It's sleeting. It's stacking on my beautiful, freshly done hair. And my head is cold, and I'm cold. And it's 17 degrees, and it's snowing, and it's blowing. And fast forward, they ran me late for my meeting. And finally, after I hear them over on the radios arguing for a long time, they come over to me with a picture, and they said a white Dodge Charger was involved in a shootout 3 days ago, and we've been looking for him, and we thought it was you. They're like, but don't you see the similarities? I'm like, other than this is an RT, and that's an SRT8, but obviously you ain't a car guy. So I gently disagreed as pleasantly as I could as they quit torturing me, took the handcuffs off of me, and I didn't even get an apology. And that ticked me off so bad. And I share that story with passion because it's coming off the heels of the worst time of my life.
Right.
Like everything has gone wrong. And this happens, and it lived in my brain. People steal money from me. People's done all this crap, and I've countersued, and I've punched back, and I've gone through hard times. But 5 guys and a girl with guns pointing at me and cuffing me, it just did not set well for me. And so I went through months of this living in my brain. I'm going to sue the police department. I'm going to get a settlement. And I had all these thoughts of all the I'm gonnas. And finally one day I woke up, I contacted an attorney. I'm having consultations. All the things are happening. And I woke up one day and I said, why am I doing this? Why am I letting this live rent free in my head? Was it stupid? Yes. Should have it never happened? Of course. Was it obvious the difference? Yes. Did some people need some mental evaluations? Maybe. But why am I letting my whole time, effort, and energy in business slow down because I'm angry that this thing happened to me one day? And that was a tough one for me to let go of. retelling the story, I'm not sure I fully let go of it.
Right.
But that was a tough one for me to let go of. And I share that because you're going to go through things and you're going to get caught up in the emotion of it. And when that happens, it is so easy to let that steal your joy, steal your peace, steal your brain power, steal your tenacity, steal all the energy you was putting into the thing, and suddenly you're distracted, all because some stupid mistake somebody else made. So don't get distracted.
This is why when we're encountered with a negative person or something that happens, Andrew and I would just laugh, not to their face, but we'll just look at each other like, here we go again.
Here we go again.
And
no guns pointed at me this time.
No guns pointed at you. So when you go through an experience, and thank you for sharing that again, because you told me in a smaller format of what had happened.
Yeah.
But this is why we say when you go through experiences, thank God for it, because it makes you stronger every time.
Yeah.
Now when Andrew has 6 guns pointed at him, maybe he acts a little different. I don't know. Right? But I'm sure, though, a lesser...
I've been taking Muay Thai.
Right, exactly. Things are easily handled now. Things are... You are better under pressure now because of those things.
Perspective. And I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but sincerely. When somebody's yelling at me, I'm like, they're not even pointing a gun at me. Like, the things that go through your mind are so much different when you've had encounters, as many of you have had. You guys have been through some tough things. I know some of you guys have been through some really tough things. And that has give you the ability now to deal under pressure in a way you never otherwise could have.
Absolutely.
Pressure is a privilege.
Pressure is a privilege. So, guys, let me ask you, what is one thing that you can do today?
One thing.
To put yourself through a little bit of pain and build resilience. Type in the chat. What is one thing you can do today to put yourself through a little pain and build resilience? Could it be a couple miles of a run? Could it be a workout? Could you go to a cold plunge place? Could you make a couple sales calls? Make more than is normal for you. If you usually do 10 in a day, can you do 20? Right? Can you have a hard conversation today? What is one thing that you can do today? Everyone who's typing in the chat, we're going to keep you guys accountable. We see it all. We see it right here written down. And then those of you who are currently going through a challenge, maybe you're struggling right now. Maybe it's financial. Maybe it's mental. Maybe it is emotional. Maybe whatever it is, you're going through something. But can I ask you to ask yourself, what can you learn from it right now? What can you even take away from Andrew's story or my story and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What could this be teaching me?
Yeah.
And then could you switch that perspective now? Because the strongest people that we know, the strongest people that we've learned from and that we respect the most are not the ones who avoid challenges. I used to be an avoider.
Yeah.
I used to push challenges away because I didn't want to learn, right? I didn't want to feel the pain. But the strongest people are the ones who use those challenges as fuel. So go find your resistance today and lean into it.
Make the hard decision. Do the hard thing. Whatever it is that you've been putting off, be willing to change that.
Absolutely.
Shall we read a couple of the commitments we're getting?
I don't see enough.
We got to get more commitments.
Put the commitments in the chat. I see a lot of other comments.
What's the thing you're going to do? Elizabeth, nice to see you. Andrew, what's up?
Andrew says, go piss off some cops. It's not the way to go.
Not recommended.
So as you guys are thinking about what your thing is, make sure to commit to it. Make sure to stick to it. Go and create a lot of resistance in your life because you'll always break through. And as you break through, you're going to be a stronger person because of it.
Yeah.
All righty.
This is good.
We will be back tomorrow.
Same place, same time.
3 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to rock and roll, and we'll see you guys there.
1 hour a day, every day is all we ask.
All we ask.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.